Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Good
Good
morning,
morning, sir.
sir.
Good
Morning.
morning,
Is there
sir.
anybody from
Everybody.
HRDC? Can I connect to HRDC? Madhar Saab? Shall we start? Madhar Saab, where are you? Anybody from HRDC?
Mohib sir, good morning.
Morning.
Hello, Mohib sir, good morning. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum Assalam.
सर आप स्टार्ट कर दें.
ठीक है. Thank you. So, good morning, friends. Let me first of all introduce myself.
Good morning, sir.
My name is Morning. My name is Mohibul Haq, and I teach political science and human rights, international relations in the Department of Political Science, Aligarh Muslim University. Like you, I am also a teacher, so it is just by chance that I'm here and you are on that side. I know that you all are learned people. You are the people who have been dealing with all these issues that I am going to discuss today with you. But what happens that we have to refresh our memories, and we have to also have what is called the diversity of perspectives. The diversity of perspectives is needed, so that is why this kind of courses are becoming relevant for all of us. Today, the topic that has been assigned to me is constitutional duties that we are going to discuss. I assume that many of you are coming from the background of law, political science, and other discipline of the social sciences. So that is why those who are coming from this discipline, that is law or political science, public policy, etc., they must be well versed with the constitutional duties that we have got. But this much is not enough. Being the citizen of this country, which is the largest electoral democracy of the world, we must know what are duties and responsibilities. Can I please request all of you that you should keep your mic switched off? That can be managed by the HRDC as well. Mazhar Saab, please take care of this because there will be disturbances. So as a citizen of this country, it is our responsibility, and of course, we must know what are responsibilities, what are our obligations, what are duties. So the moment we, first of all, it is constitutional duties. Keep in mind, it is not fundamental duties that is mentioned in the Constitution of India, but what are the constitutional duties of the Indian citizens that we have to know. Before that, we must know what is the Constitution and why a Constitution is needed for a country. As you all know, that Constitution is a set of rules, procedures, and principles of governance. It means that when a country adopts a constitution, it means that it is also going to delineate what are the rules of governance, what are the rights and duties of citizens, what are the powers and authority of the government. All these things are written in the constitution. Madhar Saab, can you please manage this that the mic of the participants are switched off when I'm delivering lecture, because time will be given to them if they want to ask question when I'm just finishing my lecture. So please manage.
इसका रिमोट कहाँ है इसका?
मदर साहब आप इसको देखें. Somebody from HRDC please. कोई होगा HRDC में?
सर भी कॉल कर देते हैं, रुक जाइए सर.
Sir, it's off now.
But I think it should be, it should be managed by the admin there. Otherwise, there will be problem. Frequent disturbances. You all will also feel bad. Not only for me. Anyway, so you see that is why a constitution is needed. Earlier, you all know that the people, when the monarchies used to prevail in the different parts of the world, at that time, there were nothing like rules and regulations. The personal wish or the personal whims of the king used to be the everything. आप जानते हैं, for example, कि अगर किंग को ये मालूम होगा कि अमावस की रात में पैदा होने वाला बच्चा आने वाले दिनों में उसके लिए खतरा बनेगा, तो उसने ऑर्डर कर दिया, दिस काइंड ऑफ स्टोरी, उसने ऑर्डर कर दिया कि जितने अमावस की रात में बच्चे पैदा होंगे सब मार दिए जाएं. This kind of stories you will find. Why? Because at that time, when the kingship was there, that was absolutist in nature. The authority of the king was unchallenged. But now we are living in a democracy. In a democracy, the people have got certain rights, and these rights are claimed against the power of the state. And if you see the language of the fundamental rights, directive principle of state policy, we will find duties and responsibilities are imposed upon the state. For example, a state shall not discriminate on the basis of religion, caste, creed, sex, place of birth. It is the responsibility of the state. It is the duty of the state. So while the state has been given enormous power, at the same time, there are corresponding responsibilities upon the state. So that's why today we are living in a constitutional democracy. In a constitutional democracy, it means that what will be the supreme in the country? It is supremacy of the constitution is there in our country. So whether the people sitting at the helm of affairs, from PM to DM, or the ordinary citizens like us, we all derive our rights and duties from the constitution. So this is the reason that the supremacy of the constitution is very important. But at the same time, as a responsible citizen of this country, who have been also given the responsibility of inculcating values among the students, among the youth, so that is why we must know that the values that are there in the constitution, the rights that are there in the constitution, they are to be claimed and reclaimed every day. If we don't claim and reclaim them, what will happen? That the space will shrink, and when the space is shrinking, what will happen? There will be flagrant violation of human rights. So that is why in a democracy, if we are living, it is our duty to be a vigilant and alert citizen of this country. That is important for all of us. As you all know, that in the Constitution of India originally, there was nothing like fundamental duties. It was added during emergency in 1976 through 42nd Amendment. Does it mean that before 1976, Indian citizens did not have any duty at all? That question must come to our mind. We can say that there was nothing like fundamental duties mentioned in the Constitution of India, but at the same time, implicitly, you will find that many duties were already imposed upon all of us, all the citizens of this country. And when we are saying all the citizens of the country, for example, if the Prime Minister is there, his powers and responsibilities are already defined in the Constitution of India. President of India, Governor, Chief Ministers, and all other officers, those who are there at the helm of affairs, you will find that their power, their responsibility, they are all defined in the Constitution. At the same time, in the Constitution of India, you will find that there was, right from the very beginning, there has been the chapter on fundamental rights. And when we have a chapter on fundamental rights, we should know that every right imposes a corresponding duty. Every right, imposes a corresponding duty. What does it mean? It means, for example, if the freedom of expression is there, the freedom of expression is there, certainly, and at the same time, certain reasonable restrictions can be imposed on the enjoyment of freedom of expression. So, for example, if we have got freedom of thought and expression, it means that we have got freedom of conscience and all. But at the same time, the corresponding duty is that we should not and we cannot misuse our freedom of expression to malign others, to create a culture of violence, or to inculcate violence, or to humiliate others, or to use the language which is going to hurt the sentiments of others. This is the corresponding duty imposed upon all of us. So this is the reason that we can say right from the very beginning since the days when the constitution was implemented in the country, we have certain corresponding duties. They were implicitly there in the Constitution of India. So we cannot say that the duties were imposed only in 1976. Before that, the Indian citizen did not have any responsibility or duty at all. For this fact, we should remember that this duty was, included or inserted in the Constitution of India, that is fundamental duty, on the recommendation of the Sardar Soren Singh Committee, which was set up in 1976. And the circumstances also we should understand. From 1975 to 1977, you will find there was emergency in the country. And during emergency, you'll find there were colossal violations of human rights all over. Thousands of people, social activists, political activists, teachers, students, and others, they were behind the bars. And this was the reason that you will find that the leaders in our country, they were invoking the fundamental rights and other rights, human rights, for example, against the atrocities of the state. State, at that time, Indian state, from welfare state, it had become what is called police state. Enormous powers were enjoyed by the police and other security agencies, and because of which, there was a colossal misuse of the power. And this was the reason that the people were emphasizing rights. A kind of discourse was there. Indian democracy was marching towards maturity, you will find, when the people were trying to reclaim their spaces that were taken away by the power of the state. JP and others, they all played very important role in reclaiming our space. So at that time, you will find that the rights were emphasized. When the rights were emphasized, then the Prime Minister Indira Gandhi came up with the idea that the rights and duties go together. So if you are emphasizing your rights, then you must understand your responsibilities as well. And that's why this fundamental duties that was inserted in 51A of the Indian Constitution. And it is said, that when we inserted the fundamental duties in our Constitution, we are basically influenced by the Constitution of the former USSR, the former Soviet Union. And that's why you'll find that the language I don't like when we say that we borrowed it from the Constitution of Soviet Union. We did not borrow, rather, there were many examples before us, and that's why we were influenced by the Constitution of the Soviet Union, former Soviet Union, and that's why it is said that, it was borrowed from the Soviet Union. But it was also needed at that time, and that's why, the Indira Gandhi at that time as the Prime Minister of India wanted that there should be a balance between the rights and duties. Now the question arises that can we claim duties upon the citizens that are, imposed upon them, they go against the rights that are enjoyed by them? No, because, it is a fact which cannot be contested. The rights and duties go together. Freedom and duties go together. And that's why it is said that our freedom to move our hand in any direction ends where the nose of somebody starts. So, this is the reason that we have to understand that we have freedom, we have liberty, we have rights, but at the same time, the corresponding duty is that we have to respect the same right of others, similar rights of others. So this is the reason that we can say that the rights and duties go together. This is not something that is being, that was being discussed in our country alone. This kind of discussion has been there in the discourse on human rights right from the very beginning. As you all know that when the UDHR was adopted on 10 December 1948, that is Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Shortly, I am saying it is UDHR, which is also called the Magna Carta of Mankind. That UN Declaration, the most cited document from the United Nations. It has been translated into more than 600 languages. It has 30 articles. The UN Declaration, on this Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So when it was adopted by the United Nations General Assembly on 10 December 1948, Since then, every year you will find on 10 December, we celebrate Human Rights Day. International Human Rights Day is celebrated all over the world to commemorate this occasion only, that is the adoption of the United Nations Declaration on Human Rights. So here you'll find that what happens at that time, many rights were included in this particular UDHR. And it was claimed that it is universal. These rights are universal. Keep in mind, it was adopted in 1948. In 1948, if you see the membership of the United Nations, at that time, 200 members or 193 members were not there in the United Nations, because most of the states in the world, they were reeling under colonialism and imperialism. And that's why the national liberation struggles were going on in the different parts of the world. The countries were trying to liberate themselves from the yoke of slavery of the imperialist powers. So that is why it is said that most of the nations who were colonies at that time, they did not have a say in the drafting of the UDHR, that is Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So, although we played also a very important role, Ansa Mehta is given the credit for, using the gender-sensitive language in the UDHR. Earlier, it was they are all men. All men have, human rights. So she intervened and she said it is not gender-sensitive language. And because of her intervention only, you will find that the gender-sensitive language was used in the UDHR. So we also have a role in the drafting of the UDHR. It was called Magna Carta of Mankind. You can understand, it is such an important, document. But after that, a debate started. That are all the rights that are claimed in the UDHR universal? Do they take into account the cultural values of the different parts or the different countries of the world? Does it mean that the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which is claimed as universal, is basically a Eurocentric or West-centric approach to human rights, where the non-Western countries, they were not given the right to say anything on this issue? So that started a great debate in the discourse on human rights, and that is called universalism versus cultural relativism. This debate is universalism versus cultural relativism. Now here you'll find that how the rights and duties, they are being emphasized. In this document, you will find that all the rights have been mentioned. 30 articles are there, a preamble is there, beautifully written. But at the same time, you'll find that the duties are not there. Now, the non-Western countries, they said that the Eurocentric approach to human rights is basically right-centered approach, where the rights are emphasized. So the Western perspective of human rights is giving emphasis on rights, whereas the non-Western perspective has tried to strike a balance between the rights and duties. And that's why sometimes, the Western critics say that the non-Western approach is duty-centered approach. So whether it is a right-centric approach or whether it is a duty-centric approach, that debate is there. And this debate is called the great debate in the literature of human rights. So when we are talking about this, that is whether the rights are important or whether the duties are important, what we have to understand that we have to strike a balance between rights and duties both. So for example, in our culture, where the karma and the dharma is emphasized. So that's why, in our culture, you'll find right from the very beginning, it is the duty, that has been emphasized. And this was the reason that, Mahatma Gandhi said that the true source of rights is duty. He said that the true source of rights is duty. And he said, categorically, that if we all perform our duties and honestly, then there won't be any need of rights at all. So that's why the duties, if the people are performing their duties, then the rights will be naturally taken care of. This was the approach of Mahatma Gandhi, of course, which is representing our approach to human rights. Nevertheless, we cannot say that the rights are not important, because most of the time when if you see the violation of the rights of the people, it is a state is the major violator of the rights of the people, not the individuals. Most of the time, rights are violated by the state. So that's why the rights are needed, and that's why we have fundamental rights in our constitution. At the same time, we have directive principle of state policy, which is imposing certain responsibilities upon the state. Now we are coming to the fundamental duties that are mentioned in our constitution. So originally, as I pointed out, that there was no fundamental duties in the constitution. They were added or inserted by the 42nd constitutional amendment in 1976. In the beginning, there were 10 duties. At that time when it was inserted, there were 10 duties, but in 2002, there was 36th constitutional amendment, and one more duty was inserted in the constitution. So today we have 11 fundamental duties mentioned by the Constitution of India. There are 11 fundamental duties that are mentioned in the Constitution of India. For your own memory, if you want to have, then 10 plus 1 you can write that, because it was added later on. So from 1976, you have to come to 2002 when the 11th duty was added in the Constitution of India. Now I'm just going to read out the provisions and I'm going to explain them. First of all, you have in the fundamental duties to abide by the Constitution and respect its ideals and institutions. So first of all, to abide by the Constitution and respect its ideals and institutions, the national flag and the national anthem. So you have to see the words. First of all, what is there? That the ideals and institutions. So what are the ideals in the Constitution? You have to go to the preamble of the Indian Constitution. In the preamble of the Indian Constitution, we the people, what we have decided, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. So sovereignty, internally supreme, externally free. So our country is internally supreme, externally free. But at the same time, it is sovereign, socialist. When we say socialist, these days you will find there are many people who are saying that the word socialist should be deleted from the Constitution of India. But you know why this word socialist is important in the Constitution of India? Because when we are using this term socialist, you should not try to understand in the light of Marxism only, in the Marxian paradigm only, this socialism. Socialism means that a state will not be a neutral observer as far as economic activities are concerned. Rather, it will intervene for social justice. So a state, here when we are saying that Indian state is a socialist state, it means that market forces will not be given full freedom to do whatever they want to do. It means that the maximization of profit and the maximization of wealth will not be the only approach so far as the economic activities are concerned. But at the same time, it should be a service-oriented economy as well. So if millions of people are poor, then the poverty elevation program is the responsibility of the state. If there are, thousands of people who have been reeling under discrimination, untouchability in the country for centuries, then having a special policies for them, reservation for them, the former untouchables, jinko pehle achut kaha gaya tha, for centuries they were exploited. So reservation for them, ST for example. Similarly, OBC community for example. So if their representation is not adequate, then a state has to promote social justice. So that is why a state cannot be reduced to the status of umpire in a cricket match. The state will see that the players are playing and it will not intervene. Here the state has to intervene if the wealth is not being properly distributed among the people. So that is why the concentration of wealth should not be there in one hand. All these are the responsibility. So that is why the values of socialism are also imposing certain responsibilities upon the states, and that's why the people, while invoking socialism, can ask the state that since India is a socialist state, so it means that the unbridled privatization, whether of education, health and all, it will not work in the country because India is a socialist state. At the same time, it is a secular state, sovereign, socialist and secular. It means that the state has to observe neutrality in the matters of religion. It is not a theocracy. It cannot promote a particular religion, and it cannot discriminate against other religions. This is the responsibility of the state. So sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic, of course, democracy, democracy is only the people, those who have not enjoyed political power for centuries in our country, they can understand the significance of democracy. And that's why you should read what Dr. Ambedkar says on the importance of democracy in our country. The people have become everybody from, a poor person, even a rickshaw puller who cannot earn his livelihood in a very dignified manner. He is also important, and he has the same number of vote, the value of vote as the Ambani or Adani or anybody in the country. This is the beauty of democracy. So that is why, it's a democratic country, and that's why the democracy is to be preserved and promoted, democratic values. And at the same time, republic, it means that anybody can, go to the highest office of the state without any discrimination. And that will be on the basis of the election, not on the basis of the hereditary. These are the values that are there in the Constitution of India. At the same time, you will find that the Constitution of India in the preamble is already highlighting the ideals, that is social, economic, and political justice. It is justice, social, economic, and political. You will find social, economic, and political justice, equality of opportunity, fraternity. All, these things are the important ideals and the values of the Constitution. So this is the reason that when we are saying to abide by the Constitution and respect ideals and institutions, so these are the ideals of the Constitution, and they are to be respected, they are to be promoted. At the same time, the institutions, all the institutions that have been created by the state, by the Constitution, the constitutional institutions, they are to be also respected. The national flag and the national anthem. The national flag, there is already a code of the respect of the national flag, that how to, respect national flag. Then you also have national anthem. National anthem, it means there is only one national anthem in the country, that is Jan Gan Man Adhyanak Jai. This is the national anthem of the country. So there are certain codes when these national anthem is played and when we are going to fly the national flag. So there are certain cases that we have to discuss here. For example, you will find there is a famous case, that is Union of India versus Naveen Jindal on flying of national flag. Very important case. In this case, what happened, that the Supreme Court of India upheld a judgment affirming that the Indian Constitution, and in particular the fundamental right to freedom of expression, protected the right to fly the national flag. Naveen Jindal, a director of a factory, filed a petition after he was told that he was not permitted to fly the national flag according to the Flag Code of India. Authorities, prevented him from flying national flag, and that's why he approached the court. The court reasoned that the right to fly the flag can be considered as an expression of an individual's allegiance and pride for their nation. However, the court did note that this right can be subject to certain reasonable statutory restrictions. Reasonable statutory restrictions can be there, but the citizens have a right to fly the national flag, that was upheld here. Another important expression you will find is national anthem. So when the national anthem is being played, you have certain duties that have been imposed upon all the citizens of this country. So for example, you have to stand up respectfully. You have to give full respect to the national anthem. Keep in mind, it is national anthem, that is Jan Gan Man Adhyanak Jai. This kind of slogan that Vande Mataram कहना है, and this is compulsory. So Vande Mataram or सारे जहां से अच्छा, या जो शहीद हुए हैं उनकी जरा याद करो कुर्बानी. All these are national songs, you can say, nationalist songs. They don't have any constitutional validity. Keep in mind, Constitution is talking only about national anthem. when the national anthem is being played, when the national anthem is being sung, you have to stand up and you have to show your full respect to the national anthem. That is the duty of every citizen of this country. Here, a very interesting case you will find. And as the teachers who are imparting education, we must know about this, because sometimes we may also encounter this kind of issues and problems in colleges, schools, and universities. And this is a very famous case that we should remember. It is also known as national anthem case, and this is Bijoy Emmanuel versus State of Kerala. Bijoy Emmanuel versus State of Kerala. Here you will find that what happened, that the three children, when the national anthem was being played, the school inspector observed that the three children were not singing the national anthem when it was being played. But they were standing and they were giving full respect to the national anthem. So they were suspended. They were suspended, they were removed from the school. After that, what happened, that the parents approached the court. And here, this ruling is very, very important. And you have to see this ruling in the light of the ideas that we have already discussed earlier. You will find that what was said, the court ruled that standing up respectfully while the national anthem is being played is sufficient to show respect for the country and its symbols. So the court ruled that standing up respectfully while the national anthem is being played is sufficient to show respect for the country and its symbols. Bijoy Emmanuel has contended that it is violation of the freedom of religion if we are singing. What the court said, the court ruled that forcing children, they were from Christian community, that the court ruled that forcing children to sing the national anthem violated their fundamental right to freedom of religion under Article 25 of the Constitution of India. Why? Because you'll find there are many traditions in our country. That is why it is called that India is a very diverse kind of country. Exciting diversities are there. So you'll find monotheism, polytheism, all these things are there. So what happened, that these people, these children, they were coming from the Christian community, and they said that it is again the principle of monotheism, that if we say that, Jan Gan Mana Dhyanak Jaya Bharat Bhagya Vidata, because according to monastic tradition, you will find the Bhagya Vidata can be God only. No other authority can be Bhagya Vidata. Of course, metaphorical meaning and all that we can debate and we can discuss that it has a metaphorical meaning as well. In the literal sense, if we are taking, then they said that it is against the freedom of religion which has been given to us under the Constitution of India. And court upheld that the court ruled that forcing children to sing the national anthem violated their fundamental right to freedom of religion under Article 25 of the Constitution. Then it also ruled preventing the singing of the national anthem. The court ruled that not singing the national anthem while it is recited is not an offense under the Prevention of Insults to National Honor Act 1971 if accused is not disrespecting it. If you are not showing disrespect to national anthem, there are many people, if they are not singing, but this is compulsory for every citizen of this country. Even if you're not singing, then at least you have to stand up. Singing is not compulsory, but showing full respect, is standing in attentive position is must for every citizen of India. Means if he is able to stand up, of course. If a person is suffering from some kind of disability, that is a different matter. But showing respect is compulsory for all. Singing is not compulsory. Keep in mind. But this is also related only with the national anthem. Now, not with, Vande Mataram, not with Sare Jahan Se Acha, not with other, songs, nationalist songs. Keep in mind. So we have national flag, we have national anthem, we have constitutional institutions and ideals. 4 expressions are very, very important. In the first, that is A of the fundamental duties. Now in the B, what is there? to cherish and follow the noble ideals which inspired our national struggle for freedom. What are the noble ideals? As a teacher, we have to identify in the class because the students may ask, what are the noble ideals that inspire our freedom struggle? To cherish and follow the noble ideals which inspired our national struggle for freedom. You will find, first of all, it was the unity of the people. People from all communities, Hindus, Muslims, Sikh, Christians, the so-called lower caste, upper caste, they all got united and fought against British imperialism. So that is why the noble ideals, it means unity of the people. Noble ideals that you must respect freedom and liberty. Yoke of slavery is something that you have to always dislike, condemn, and you have to resist slavery. Racism, for example, there was racial discrimination as well against Indian citizens. You all know Gandhiji was thrown out of the train. A person of his stature was thrown out of the train. So you can understand that racism, for example, because you see that when the British came to India and other colonialists, when they came after the 16th century, they justified the colonization of India on the theory of white man's burden. And they said that we did not come to exploit, rather we came to civilize barbarians. We were considered barbarians by them. The country was like charmers, and they came to civilize us. If you see in the 2500 BC, we were having Indus Valley civilization, which was one of the best civilization, most advanced civilization of at that time. And these people, they came to civilize us. And how they civilize us? Through drain of wealth, through deurbanization, through deindustrialization, by practicing racial discrimination against us. And they were saying they came to civilize us, not to exploit us. Thanks to Dadabhai Naoroji and others, that the drain of wealth theory, that is already there. And wherever you discuss drain of imperialism or colonialism, then you will find also drain of wealth. But at the same time, when we are talking about, to cherish and follow the noble ideals which inspired our national struggle for freedom, how it is relevant today? India, the country where you will find fairness cream is something that is sold everywhere. We have a mad craze to become fair. And that's why, how it has happened that these colors or complexions have become so important for, judging what is ugliness and what is beauty. And that's why the poems like Black is Beautiful becomes important, should be sung by all of us. So here you will find that, have you noticed sometime that who decided and who determined at what point of time it was determined that black, the color black, will be the color of sadness, mourning, anger, outrage. So that's why, for example, if a politician is coming and you are showing black flag, maybe you'll be arrested. On the other hand, white flag is it is symbol of peace, harmony, mutual goodwill, and all. Who determined that white will be the color of peace? And the color of mutual understanding, harmony, happiness, and the color black will be sadness, mourning, outrage, and all. Who decided and who determined? This is a food for thought for all the teachers here. Why black is bad and why white is good? Does it have some kind of root in the white man's burden theory? White is good because they were powerful people, so that is why the white color has become good. I don't have problem with any color, but at the same time, this question must be there in our mind. And you see the fairness cream that is sold in our country. At every store you'll find, in every general store, you find some kind of fairness cream is there. The mad craze that is there in our country. Not only for the women. And you see what kind of outrageous kind of advertisement are there on the TV. Fair and lovely for women. And then, मर्द होकर औरतों वाली cream. मर्द होकर औरतों वाली cream. मर्द is superior. And that's why औरतों वाली cream लगा रहा है, औरत is inferior. You see it is not gender sensitive advertisement. It cannot be allowed to be created. This is a relation of subordination and domination is being reflected here. And we don't show our outrage that how can you use this kind of insensitive kind of language against women, that mard hokar auraton wali cream. What is so special with mard? This is something that we have to emphasize. So that is why to uphold, to cherish and follow the noble ideals which inspired our national struggle for freedom. So it is equality, it is the unity of the people. It is, our emphasis that we are not inferior to anybody. All these ideas were there, and this was the reason that we were fighting against British government. We have the right to self-rule, means we are the people who are capable of governing our country, and that's why we have been governing in a one of the best ways that you can find anywhere in the country, in the world. One of the most exciting economies we have. And despite all kind of diversity, since 1947 till date, we have maintained our territorial integrity and all. So that is why we can say that we are the best rulers as well. There may be many problems. The unemployment, poverty, hunger, communal rights, casteism, all these things are there. But despite all these, we have preserved our democracy, the democratic ideals, the power to the people, sovereignty, integrity, everything. Now the next duty is to uphold and protect the sovereignty, unity, and integrity of India. Wherever you live. If you are living, for example, in India, you are living in Japan, you are living in America, you are living in Pakistan, Bangladesh, anywhere. It is the responsibility and duty of every citizen living in any country of the world to uphold sovereignty, unity, and integrity of that particular country. And that is our, responsibility and duty as well, that sovereignty, unity, and integrity of the country. So anything that we do which creates division in the society, anything that we do which can pose threat to our integrity, unity, and sovereignty is violation of our duty. Next, to defend the country and render national service when called upon to do so. To defend the country and render national service when called upon to do so. So, for example, if our country is security is threatened, and if there is a need, then we should be ready to defend our country in whatever manner we can defend. So that is the duty of every citizen of this country, to defend the country and render national service. Today also you can say that you are rendering a national service when you are doing your job honestly and you are imparting education. A peasant, a farmer, or a soldier, everybody is, rendering this service. It doesn't mean only those who are fighting on the borders, they are rendering this service. National service, if we are doing, all of us, all the citizens of India, if we are trying to make our country great, we are doing that national service. Next, to promote harmony and the spirit of common brotherhood amongst all the people of India, transcending religious, linguistic, and regional or sectional diversities. Keep in mind, India is a vast country where you will find that thousands of languages and dialects are spoken. It's a multilingual, multi-religious, multicultural country. You will find geographical differences. In our own country, कहीं पे temperature अगर अभी 0 degree होगा और दूसरी जगह पे 40 degree temperature होगा. That you see the exciting diversity that we have, geographical diversity you see, cultural diversity you see. You can see the religious and the linguistic diversities in the country. Thousands of languages are spoken and dialects are spoken. So India is a universe in itself. So here, what is our responsibility? What is our duty? To promote harmony and the spirit of common brotherhood amongst all the people of India, transcending religious, linguistic, and regional or sectional diversities, and to renounce practices derogatory to the dignity of women. I was emphasizing right now, dignity of women, any practice which is derogatory to the dignity of women. In our own spaces, even the educated people you'll find, they sometimes go against the dignity of women by using certain language. For example, मर्द होकर औरतों वाली क्रीम का मैंने अभी आपको एग्जांपल दिया. If you are saying हमने चूड़ियां नहीं पहन रखी हैं, हमने चूड़ियां नहीं पहन रखी हैं, what does it mean? This is not a gender sensitive language. It is quite offending to women. Again, the relationship of domination and subordination is there. You are thinking that women are subordinate, they are not in a position to resist anything, and that's why they don't have any power. So that is why chudiyan, bangles are being projected here as the bondage of slavery. And this is the reason that when we are using हमने चूड़ियां नहीं पहन रखी हैं, it means that we are violating the principle of dignity of women. मेरे हाथों में मेहंदी नहीं लगी हुई है. Again, this is also not a gender sensitive language, and at least it cannot be expected from the teachers especially. So when we are in the class or public spaces, we cannot use this kind of language. And the practices, for example, from in our country, you will find women are discriminated right from the womb of the mother. So we have female feticide in the womb of the mother. The sex determination test, if that is there, then we will find that the baby girl is killed. In the womb of the mother, the fetus itself is destroyed. Then you have infanticide. You have bride burning. For dowry, thousands of women are killed every year. They are burnt alive, you see. Child marriage, for example. All these are the practices that are derogatory to dignity of women. It should not be allowed, and that's why it is our duty. Then we have to value and preserve the rich heritage of our composite culture. What is there? It is the responsibility of every citizen of this country, constitutional duty of every citizen of the country, to value and preserve the rich heritage of our composite culture. What is composite culture? It means the synthesis of many cultures that we have in our country. Composite culture may be, many religious communities, many, linguistic communities, many races that all are there in our country. So that's why, and the Indian culture becomes a diverse culture, and that's why we say it is unity in diversity or unity with diversity. It means neither state should become a bulldozer, a state should become a bulldozer, or a state should not bulldoze the identities of even the microscopic minorities in the country, linguistic or cultural or religious or any tribal communities. So that is why the composite culture means that a state, at the same time, we all the citizens of India, we have to preserve this rich heritage of our composite culture. And what is the heritage of composite culture? So, for example, many languages, whether Dravidians, for example, or whether it is other languages, other culture, all they are to be preserved, promoted, respected in our in our country. And that's why to preserve and value the heritage of our composite culture, there are many judgments that you have to see. For example, what is composite culture? It is not defined in the Constitution of India. And that's why the case came before the Supreme Court of India, and a famous case is there, and that is Santosh versus Ministry of HRD. Santosh versus Ministry of HRD 94-95 judgment, if you see, basically what happened that when the Sanskrit was being introduced as a compulsory language, at that time a person went to the court and said that it is against the principle of secularism, that Sanskrit should not be made compulsory for all. It is against the principle of secularism. You will find that in our country, linguistic chauvinism has been also there. And in 1950s and 60s, there was a very strong movement for Dravidistan. Dravidian culture and tradition, the people wanted to get separated from the Indian Union. But in 1956, you see that the best kind of administrative acumen was shown by our leaders, and you'll find that the reorganization of the states on the basis of language was done. Reorganization of the states on the linguistic basis, that was done. And this linguistic chauvinism, which was threatening the unity and integrity of the country, that was minimized to a great extent. So that's why here you will find that we have to preserve the rich heritage of our composite culture. On this issue, Supreme Court upheld that introduction of Sanskrit in the schools and colleges is not against the principle of secularism. Why? Because Sanskrit has been a source of, uh, the rich heritage of our culture. So if you want to understand our culture, you cannot ignore Sanskrit. So that is why the introduction of Sanskrit is not violative of the what we call the composite culture, or what we call the principle of secularism. At that time, you'll find there was a lot of debate in the country, because the people were saying that the Sanskrit is the symbol of Vedic civilization. Vedic civilization is an alien civilization, Aryan civilization, and all, this kind of debate, political debate started. But finally, Supreme Court ruled that Sanskrit has been there right from the very beginning. And when you are trying to promote composite culture, you cannot ignore Sanskrit as a language, as a culture. It is not only a language. It has, the root of Indian culture and tradition. You'll find that is there in this language. So that is why introduction of Sanskrit is also a step towards promoting the heritage of composite culture in the country. After that, you have to protect and improve the natural environment, including forests, lakes, rivers, and wildlife, and to have compassion for living creatures. This is also there in the fundamental duties to protect and improve the natural environment, including forest. So if you see the natural environment, these days there is a lot of debate on the environmental pollution. You will find there is green peace movement is already there. Green activism is there. That is a movement for environmental protection. When we are talking about environmental protection, as the people belonging to middle class, we can see, how, the allegation is that we all are environmental terrorists. We all are environmental terrorists in the sense, because, for example, we, from the background that we have, we must be having at least one car at our home, which must be having air condition, AC. Every one of us must be having at least two ACs in our houses, at least two. It may be 3 to 4 as well. So if you have two ACs at home, one in the office, at your workplace, and then one in the car, then what is our role in the green, what is called the environmental production, greenhouse gas emission, and also what is called in the heating up of our planet. For example, if I'm using AC in my room, this space, my room can be very good, very cozy, very comfortable environment will be there in my room, and I'll be enjoying my life here. But my AC, which I have installed here, it is going to create some kind of heat outside. Maybe a poor person living, a hut is there beside my house. He is not having AC. So for cooling my atmosphere, my space, I am going to heat up his space, who is living in my neighborhood. He is not using AC. At the same time, globally, if we all are using this AC, it means that we are playing our role in heating up of our planet. Means we are contributing to global warming. At the same time, when we are using fossil fuel in our cars, and when all these things that we are doing, so our activities, anthropogenic activities, is leading to what is called the global warming, climate change, ozone depletion, environmental pollution, sound, air, water, all kind of pollution. So in this sense, all the people from our background, they are environmental terrorists in this sense. हम अपनी कार से जा रहे हैं सड़क पे, एक आदमी साइकिल से जा रहा है, उसका क्या कसूर है? वो तो बेचारा कोई पॉल्यूशन नहीं क्रिएट कर रहा ना. हमारी कार से जो ग्रीन हाउस गैस एमिशन है, या जो हीटिंग अप है हमारे एसी की वजह से या फ्यूल की वजह से, अल्टीमेटली ही हैज टू बियर द ब्रट. So that's why in this sense you will find that in a sense the allegation that we all are environmental terrorists becomes true. So at least we should be very much sensitive about this duty, and that will lead to what is called green peace in the world, because the scientists and the experts are warning that if nothing is done, and that too not sooner if we are doing anything, then what will happen, that we are going to witness doomsday very soon. the planet will be destroyed. All signs of life, they will not be there on this planet. So now we have to protect and improve the natural environment, including forests, lakes, rivers, and wildlife, and to have compassion for living creatures. So in our country, for example, we are exporter of meat and all that you'll find outside India. Animals are slaughtered every day, but here the duty is that to protect and improve the natural environment, including forest, lakes, rivers. आप देखिए ponds और lakes वो खत्म हो रहे हैं. जिस गांव में अगर तालाब खत्म हो जाता है, आप जहां वहां देखेंगे कि हैंड पाइप का वाटर लेवल नीचे चला जाता है. फौरन 2-3 साल के अंदर जो वाटर लेवल नीचे चला जाता है. सो दैट्स व्हाई ऑल द नेचुरल सोर्सेज ऑफ वाटर दे आर टू बी प्रिजर्व्ड. You know, nature has been very kind to us. You know, so far as India is concerned. You have all the seasons, rainy season, you have winter, you have summer, all. And that's why at least 3 crops we get every year. So nature has been very kind to us. But at the same time, we have not been able to preserve our resources. So that is why these duty, the duties that are there under this, they are very, very important. To develop scientific temper, humanism, and the spirit of inquiry and reform. So what is to be there? To develop the scientific temper, you know, that is also a responsibility. To develop the scientific temper, humanism, and the spirit of inquiry and reform, then only a modern nation can be, made. So the modern India can be, the goal of modern India can be achieved only when we are, developing scientific temper, humanism, and the spirit of inquiry and reform. Then to safeguard public property and to abjure violence. Again, you will find during the protest, you will find in our country, public properties are damaged. So that is why it is against the duties that have been imposed upon all of us. So to safeguard public property and to abjure violence, to strive towards excellence in all spheres of individual and collective activity, so that the nation constantly rises to higher levels of endeavor and achievement. You know, we all should try to achieve excellence as a teacher, as a scientist, as a doctor, as an engineer, as a citizen. So we have to all, strive towards excellence in all spheres of individual and collective activity, so that the nation constantly rises to the higher levels of endeavor and achievement. Who is a parent? Now, the duty that was inserted by the 86th Amendment in 2002, that is important. Here, you will find who is a parent or guardian to provide opportunities for education to his child, or as the case may be, ward between the age of 6 and 14 years. You know why this is important? India has 1/4 of the total child labor force of the world. Child labor is there, and that's why the child labor force, 1/4 of the child labor force is there in the, in India, if you see the total child labor force in the world. So you'll find children of 12 years, 13 years, 10 years, they are working on dhaba, and that too from morning to night of such tender age. You'll find they are also there in the hazardous industries, which is damaging their health. हम जब अपने बच्चों को लेकर के स्कूल के लिए जा रहे होते हैं, आप अपनी कार में या बर्थडे सेलिब्रेट कर रहे होते हैं अपने बच्चों का, तो हमें उन बच्चों को भी देखना है जो बच्चे स्कूल नहीं जाके, जब हम अपने बच्चों को स्कूल लेके जा रहे हैं, वो बच्चे ढाबे की तरफ जा रहे हैं, उसी एज के बच्चे काम करने के लिए hazardous industries में जा रहे हैं काम करने के लिए. So that's why, what is the duty of the parents or the guardian? That to provide opportunities for education to his child, or as the case may be, ward between the age of 6 and 14 years. यानी 14 years तक बच्चे को इस तरह के काम नहीं कराना है. This become the duty, but at the same time, this duty, because of poverty, it becomes very difficult to perform this kind of duties, because in many circumstances, being attached with the human rights activism in the country, I have seen that rehabilitation of the children. For example, you can force the dhaba owner to withdraw the child from there, but what will happen? The child will not go to school. Again, he will go to some other dhaba or some other place of work, because back at home, His father may be suffering from tuberculosis. Mother is a housewife, and there is nobody to earn. There is no, source of livelihood. So that is why that boy or the girl at the age of 12, 13, 14 years is going to the dhaba or school to other places and working, and then fetching 50 rupees, sometime 100 rupees or 200 rupees. And that is the only source of income in that family. So that's why while going for human rights activism and asking the people to withdraw from the dhaba or all, that is not enough. Unless we are ensuring, because the family will be starving. And this is the reason that if you ask them, if you go to the families, they will say A for apple and B for butterfly is not going to solve our problem. We need bread. Every day, after all, unless basic needs are satisfied, people will not go to schools. We have to understand. So that's why those who are economically backward, they will be educationally backward. There cannot be anything like equality of opportunity in a country which is having vast economic disparity. अभी आपने देखा नीट का रिजल्ट आया, मैंने एक बच्चे को देखा, उसके नंबर 590 के करीब नंबर आए, बट ही वाज कमिंग फ्रॉम अ वेरी हम्बल financial background, and he could not get admission in the private institute because he has to spend at least 80 lakh rupees he was not having in the medical college. On the other hand, there is a friend of mine whose daughter got around 450 marks only, and she got admission in a good private college. So you see, here what happens, this disparity. A boy who is getting 590 marks is not able to get, admission, because the private institute, they are going to ask for money, the donation you have to give. And here, a girl with 450 marks is getting admission, she will become a doctor. And maybe this boy, he will go for the second attempt, third attempt. If he is not qualifying, he will end up, doing something very humble. So in the light of this economic disparity, you can understand what is there in the country. So, these are the constitutional duties, but at the same time, there are additional duties. And these additional duties are if you see, for example, all the rights that are there in the Constitution of India, they are fundamentals. They have also imposed certain duties upon all of us. So these duties are to be performed by all of us. With this, I am going to conclude, because, the class should be open for question, answer, and discussion, observation. It is not only that you are asking question. You can give your all observations. You all are highly educated people, learned people. So that is why you can give your observation. You can enrich the discussion. Thank you very much for patient hearing.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Very informative.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
आप लोग अपने हिंदुस्तानी में भी ऑब्जर्वेशन दे सकते हैं, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है ना. और अगर कोई क्वेश्चन है तो वो भी आप कर सकते हैं. क्लास इज ओपन फॉर डिस्कशन नाउ.
Okay, sir.
Yes, Prachi, you want to ask anything or you want to say anything?
So, thank you, sir. It was such an informative session. And when you were discussing black and white concept, it is also the concept of data, his concept of bioinformation. Sir, am I audible?
Yeah, you are very much audible.
And sir, what is strike in my mind at that time is French Fanon concept of black skin, white mask. We are living in, we are following that concept at present.
At the same time, you see, as an Indian citizen, we must read one of the best books that I will say for all of us to sensitize ourselves is The Annihilation of Caste by Dr. Ambedkar. Baba Saheb Ambedkar wrote The Annihilation of Caste. It is a very good book that we all should read, because we have been discriminating against our own citizens. So that will sensitize us. This book is a must-read book for all of us.
Yes.
At the same time, Discovery of India by Jawaharlal Nehru, one of the finest books on India.
Thank you.
Good observation and good intervention. Thank you, Prachi.
Thank you so much, sir.
पंकज साहब, आप कुछ कहना चाहते हैं? म्यूट है पंकज साहब, आप म्यूट है।
पंकज जी
हाँ,
अनम्यूट
हाँ,
म्यूट।
हेलो,
जी जी, अब आप ऑडिबल, आप बोलिए पंकज साहब।
नमस्ते सर।
नमस्ते।
सर एक मूवी थी सर, ग्रीन बुक, उसमें सर व्हाइट और ब्लैक के बारे में पूरी दिखाया है मूवी में।
जी
हेलो, तो सर
जी जी जी, आप बोले, हम लोग सुन रहे हैं।
हाँ सर, उस मूवी में उस थीम थे यही कि सर ब्लैक पर्सन व्हाइट पर्सन जो भी हैं सर, जो चल रहा है समाज में, तो सर
जी।
वो कोई सर से लॉजिकली सर वो हमेशा के लिए नहीं है। अगर व्यक्ति आपस में मिल जाते हैं तो चीजें दूर दूर हो जाती हैं।
हम्म
हेलो,
हम्म।
तो सर समाज में सर वो चीजें उत्पन्न कैसे हो जाती हैं सर? सर
पावर रिलेशंस को आपको देखना होगा। जो हम लोगों का सबाल्टर्न पर्सपेक्टिव है उसमें भी पावर रिलेशंस में आपको देखना होगा। मीन द पीपल हु आर इन द कोर, they determine what is good and what is bad, what is right and what is wrong, what is legal, what is illegal. So
yes
power
sir,
plays a very important role, and this is the reason that the people, those who are on the periphery or the peripheralized people, it becomes very difficult to. जिसको कहते हैं ना, truth is a social construct.
yes sir,
If the truth is a social construct, then you will find folklore and all this kind of myths. The myths can become reality. ये साहब आप बताइए, आपका नाम क्या है? आप प्लीज, आपने हाथ उठाया, प्लीज बोलिए, प्लीज इंट्रोड्यूस योरसेल्फ।
पंकज जी अपना माइक अनम्यूट कीजिए, अनम्यूट कीजिए। कंचन जी।
उनका ठीक है, वो बोल चुके।
हाँ जी सर, आई एम हरगुर प्रताप
जी
सिंह फ्रॉम गवर्नमेंट कॉलेज मालेरकोटला।
फरमाइए, मलेरकोटला से आइए आइए, हाँ बताएं।
सर मैंने ये पूछना था, हाउ डू यू एग्जामिन और एनालाइज द रोल ऑफ कमिटेड जुडिशरी इन इंडियन डेमोक्रेसी?
Good question. You see that the judiciary in our country, or the Supreme Court and High Courts, basically they are not only there to interpret the Constitution, but they are also the custodian of the rights and liberties of the people. As a observer, as a political, as a student of political science, humble student of political science, and many of us must be feeling that sometimes it seems that judiciary has failed our Constitution. It is not that the Constitution has failed us, because the rights that have been given to us, duties that have been imposed upon us, on many occasions we don't find the judicial intervention. The days of judicial activism for which Indian judiciary was appreciated, 1980s, 1990s, you will find that is over. And there are many people who have started feeling that judiciary, there is a kind of judicial submission these days. Of course, some exceptions are also there. But at the same time, if this is happening, where judiciary is not coming to rescue the rights of the people, if judiciary is not playing its role of the custodian of the rights and liberties of the people, then all these, rights that are mentioned in the Constitution, all these provisions, they will be, the golden letters, but they will not be reflected in the society. So that is a very good question. I can sense what you wanted to ask, but this is the only thing that I can say in this space.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes, please. Next up, ये सोनू।
हाँ सर।
मिस्टर सोनू।
नमस्ते सर।
या नमस्ते
सर, मेरा नाम सोनू है। मैं साकेत पीजी कॉलेज जो अयोध्या में है, वहाँ मैं साइकोलॉजी डिपार्टमेंट में असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर हूँ। सर मैं बेसिकली गांव से आता हूँ, तो मैं गांव में देखता हूँ कि जो बेसिक एजुकेशन है, खासकर प्राइमरी वाली, और मैं सर एससी कैटेगरी से बिलोंग करता हूँ
जी।
तो सर मैं देखता हूँ कि मेरे गांव में जो पॉवर्टी या एजुकेशन का जो लेवल है बहुत लो है। तो सर उसकी वजह से जो छोटे छोटे बच्चे हैं, खासकर मेरी कम्युनिटी के, वो बेसिक एजुकेशन से काफी वंचित हैं, और खासकर उसके पीछे जो पॉवर्टी वो रिस्पॉन्सिबल है। तो जो पेरेंट होते हैं उनको शुरू से ही, चाहे वो पशुपालन हो या जो भी हो, उसको लेके शुरू से ही बड़े वो पॉजिटिव रहते हैं कि अगर बात करते हैं कभी कभार तो कहते हैं चलो प्राइमरी में तो फ्री में पढ़ लेगा, या 8 तक फ्री में पढ़ लेगा, उसके बाद क्या करेगा, पढ़ लिख के फिर वही मजदूरी करनी है, चाहे वो 5 तक पढ़ के करे या 8 तक पढ़ के करे। तो कहीं ना कहीं वो उनको सेटिस्फाइड नहीं कर पाते अपनी बातों से, या इस बात का तर्क नहीं देख पाते हैं कि वो बच्चों को स्कूल भेजें, और कहीं ना कहीं प्राइमरी स्कूल में जो पठन पाठन का माहौल है वो भी एक प्रकार से डिस्क्रिमिनेशन बेस्ड रहता है, उतनी अपॉर्चुनिटी नहीं रहती है। तो एज ए नागरिक या एज ए जिम्मेदार थोड़ा सा हम कह लें कि हम उनको कैसे सेटिस्फाइड करें, या उनके लिए हम क्या कर सकते हैं सर?
सोनू साहब, आपका इंटरवेंशन बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट इंटरवेंशन है और ये बहुत अच्छा ऑब्जर्वेशन है। I respect the way you asked and you presented the case, that is there in the country. किसी शायर ने बहुत अच्छा कहा कि खिलौने वाले देखो तुम आवाज मत देना। कह रहा है शायर कि खिलौने वाले देखो तुम आवाज मत देना, बड़ी मुश्किल से भूखे पेट बच्चों को सुलाया है। आप समझ रहे हैं कि खिलौने वाला आवाज देगा, बच्चा उठ जाएगा, तो फिर वो मांगेगा खिलौना। यहाँ तो भूखे बैठा बच्चा और उसको हमने बड़ी मुश्किल से थपकियां दे करके सुलाया है। ये जो हमारे यहाँ पॉवर्टी है, और जो आप खास करके एससी कम्युनिटी की जो बात कर रहे हैं, आई कैन अंडरस्टैंड बिकॉज आई हैव सीन इट, आई हैव बीन वर्किंग विद द वेरियस कम्युनिटीज। और मुझे अंदाजा, देखिए एक चीज है, ये जो सिस्टम ऑफ एजुकेशन है हमारा, दिस सिस्टम ऑफ एजुकेशन में रिकॉग्निशन जो है, यानी अगर हम आपसे पूछें, हम लोग चूंकि टीचर्स इस लेवल पे हम ये डिबेट तो कर सकते हैं, व्हाट इज नॉलेज, तो आप नॉलेज को कहेंगे कि द इंक्रीजिंग अवेयरनेस ऑफ आवर इग्नोरेंस एंड अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ आवर सराउंडिंग, दैट इज नॉलेज। यानी हमारी अंडरस्टैंडिंग अगर हमें अपनी सराउंडिंग की है तो वही नॉलेज है। जंगल में रहने वाला एक आदिवासी बच्चा ए फॉर एप्पल और बी फॉर बटरफ्लाई तो नहीं जानता है, वो ईमेल नहीं जानता है, वो जीमेल नहीं जानता है, लेकिन वो बच्चा अपनी सराउंडिंग की फुल और परफेक्ट अंडरस्टैंडिंग रखता है। अगर 10 साल का बच्चा जो जंगल में रहता है आदिवासी का, वो किस चिड़िया की आवाज है वो सुन के बता देगा चिड़िया का नाम, किस जानवर की आवाज है वो सुन करके बता देगा, आसपास कौन से जानवर की महक आ रही है उससे बता देगा कौन सा जानवर आसपास है, हजारों तरह के पेड़ पौधे, उन सबके नाम, उन सबकी प्रॉपर्टीज वो जानता है। हमारा 10 साल का बच्चा उतना ही जानता है जितना उसको क्लास में बताया जाता है, और वो ए फॉर एप्पल और बी फॉर बटरफ्लाई वाला बच्चा होता है। वो मैंगो, एम फॉर मैंगो तो जानता है, लेकिन हो सकता है मैंगो ट्री उसने कभी नहीं देखा हो। वो ए फॉर एप्पल तो जानता है, लेकिन देख करके नहीं बताया जा पाएगा कि ये सेब का पेड़ है या नीम का पेड़ है, ऐसा भी हो सकता है। बट ये बच्चा, हमारा बच्चा जब ये पढ़ के जाएगा तो हमारी गवर्नमेंट या हमारा स्टेट या दुनिया का कोई भी स्टेट उसको रिकॉग्नाइज करेगा, ही इज नॉलेजेबल। तब आदिवासी का वो बच्चा जो परफेक्ट अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ सराउंडिंग रखता है, जिसके पास फॉर्मल एजुकेशन सिस्टम नहीं है, स्कूल, क्लासरूम, ईमेल और बोर्ड ये सब नहीं है, बट ही हैज अ परफेक्ट अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ ऑल हिज सराउंडिंग थ्रू ओरल ट्रेडिशन, which is not recognized by the state or by the institutes for giving them any kind of job or any kind of opportunity. तो बेसिकली जो ये बच्चे आप जिसकी बात कर रहे हैं, उनके पास विजडम है, बहुत बड़ी नॉलेज है, बहुत सारी चीजें वो जान रहे हैं उस फैमिली में जो उस ग्राउंड के बेच रहे हैं। हमारी प्रॉब्लम ये है कि हमने एक फॉर्मल एजुकेशन को ही एजुकेशन समझा है, और उसी की बुनियाद पे हम जॉब्स और बाकी सारी अपॉर्चुनिटीज ऑफर करते हैं। स्किल डेवलपमेंट, ओरल ट्रेडिशन, अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ द सराउंडिंग, एक डाइवर्स कंट्री में ये बहुत जरूरी है। और इस बात से कोई इनकार नहीं कर सकता कि डिस्पाइट सो मेनी डिकेड्स ऑफ इंडिपेंडेंस, डिस्क्रिमिनेशन, ह्यूमिलिएशन or the humiliating treatment that is still there in villages against the people of particular caste and community, that is there. So this is the reason that आपकी sensitivity को मैं समझ सकता हूं, but I feel के जो affirmative action program है state का, और जो और benefits दिए गए हैं, उससे एक सेंस ऑफ इंस्पिरेशन और मोटिवेशन आया है। और बड़ी तादाद में अगर आप देखेंगे 1947 में दलित कम्युनिटी की पोजीशन और आज की डेट में, तो मार्क इंप्रूवमेंट है कॉन्स्टेंटली। इट इज द रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ऑफ द स्टेट एज वेल एज द पीपल फ्रॉम द कम्युनिटी इटसेल्फ, जिसमें आप इवनिंग स्कूल्स, इवनिंग क्लासेस, मिड डे मील अगर मान लिया कि दिन में मिल रहा है और बच्चे फ्री नहीं है, तो उनको 1 घंटे 2 घंटे के लिए कोई ना कोई क्लासेस, कोई ना कोई इनफॉर्मल सेटअप में पढ़ाने की कोशिश जरूर करनी चाहिए। वो एक्टिविज्म, और मैं समझता हूँ कि सिटीजनशिप रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है हमारी, हम सब की, it is not only from the people coming from Dalit community only. It is the responsibility of every citizen. Those who are not getting this kind of opportunity, they must get. And we can create informal spaces for them, not only formal spaces.
ओके, थैंक यू सर। सर यहाँ पे एक चीज और मैं ऐड करना चाहूंगा सर, जैसे आपने जो बात कही है, बात काफी हद तक मैं एग्री भी कर रहा हूँ, बट सर जब बात आती है बेसिक नीड की ना, तो जब बच्चे या पॉपुलेशन जो बेसिक नीड के लिए डिप्राइव्ड होती है, तो वो एजुकेशन या वो जो अदर सोसाइटी वाला डायमेंशन है उस पर वो पहुंच ही नहीं पाती। लेकिन गवर्नमेंट का प्रयास भी सराहनीय है सर है।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल एग्रीड
जी सर,
मैं इस बात से पूरी तरह एग्री करता हूँ। एंड दैट्स व्हाई यू विल फाइंड दैट ये जो प्राइवेटाइजेशन बहुत तेजी से हो रहा है, आप जानते हैं प्राइवेट स्कूल्स के कॉस्ट कितने होते हैं, गवर्नमेंट स्कूल्स में ताले बंद हो रहे हैं, प्राइवेट स्कूल्स बंद हो रहे हैं। उस पे जो डाउन ट्रॉडन कम्युनिटी है, जो हमारे मार्जिनलाइज लोग हैं, उनको बहुत ज्यादा एक्टिव होना चाहिए। दिस शुड नॉट हैपन। प्राइवेटाइजेशन मीन्स अपॉर्चुनिटी बीइंग मोनोपोलाइज्ड बाय द रिच and education will become luxury. Thanks to the Indian state that we have free compulsory primary education. But this is not enough. I understand. When the people are poor, अगर पेट में कुछ रहेगा, unless, इसलिए आप जानते हैं कार्ल मार्क्स की बहुत अच्छी बात है कि जब किसी ने कहा, यानी आपने सुना है, रूसो ने कहा कि मैन इज बॉर्न फ्री बट इज एवरीवेयर इन चेन्स। मार्क्सिस्ट क्रिटिक ये है कि मैन इज नॉट बॉर्न फ्री। The moment man or woman, whatever, takes birth, she or he becomes the slave of natural forces. For example, hunger. For example, thirst. For example, जाड़ा गर्मी बरसात, जो भी सारी चीजों की जो नीड्स होती हैं, तो अल्टीमेटली वो यानी फ्री नहीं है और इक्वल भी नहीं है। A child taking birth in the family of Dhirubhai Ambani cannot be compared with a child taking birth in a poor Dalit family in the country. There is a marked difference. Double discrimination he or she has to face because of her caste, because of her social economic status. On the other hand, the boy who is taking birth in that particular space is going to excel like anything. So, this is the reason that neither man is born free nor equal. That is the critique. So, where is the equality of opportunity that is there in the Constitution of India? Yes, next.
थैंक यू सो मच सर।
थैंक यू सोनू।
नमस्ते सर।
नमस्ते।
मैं अशोक गुप्ता, असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर हिस्ट्री डिपार्टमेंट, गवर्नमेंट पीजी कॉलेज आजमगढ़।
फरमाइए गुप्ता साहब।
सर ये कह रहे हैं कि सर देखा जाए तो वर्तमान में मानव मूल्यों का ह्रास हो रहा है, छोटे छोटे बच्चों के साथ गलत हो रहा है। इसी स्थिति में हायर एजुकेशन में हम लोग की क्या भूमिका हो सकती है कि मानव मूल्यों को बचाया जा सके?
हाँ, देखिए हम लोग चूंकि सही बात है कि हम लोग हायर एजुकेशन से जुड़े हुए हैं, लेकिन अगर आप देखेंगे एक बड़ी तादाद ऐसी है, इस बात से आप इनकार नहीं करेंगे, फ्रीडम या 1947 में आज़ादी के बाद से तकरीबन गांव-गांव में स्कूल्स या प्राइमरी एजुकेशन सिस्टम जो है, एक दो गांव के बीच में आपको जरूर मिल जाएगा। वी हैव बीन सक्सेसफुल इन दैट। वो सिस्टम जो है डोरमेंट हो रहा है। वो सिस्टम डोरमेंट इसलिए हो रहा है कि जो प्राइवेट स्कूल में जाने की होड़ लगी है और एक स्टेटस है, स्टेटस सिंबल हो गया है कि जहाँ पे बच्चा अगर टाई लगा के जाएगा या कोट पहन के जाएगा तभी बच्चा पढ़ा लिखा समझा जाएगा, इंग्लिश बोलेगा तभी समझा जाएगा। उसकी वजह से बहुत बड़ी एक प्रॉब्लम हो रही है कि जो मार्जिनलाइज्ड लोग हैं, द सोशली एक्सक्लूडेड कम्युनिटीज एंड ग्रुप्स, they are not getting that kind of opportunity. And what has happened, our public education system, especially the primary education and the high school system, that is collapsing. आप अंदाजा लगाइए कि आपके बचपन में जो गवर्नमेंटल स्कूल्स एंड कॉलेजेस और जो प्राइमरी स्कूल होता था और आज कितना फर्क है। देयर इज अ डबल एक्सप्लॉयटेशन इन द प्राइवेट इंस्टीट्यूशंस। फॉर एग्जांपल, अ गर्ल और बॉय विद पीएचडी डिग्री इज गेटिंग, मैं अलीगढ़ में भी देखता हूँ जब उनसे बात करता हूँ, जो हमारे स्टूडेंट्स हैं, समटाइम्स 6-7,000 रुपीज पर मंथ दे आर टीचिंग इन अ प्राइवेट स्कूल, एंड दैट स्कूल माइट बी अर्निंग, द ओनर ऑफ दैट स्कूल might be earning 5 lakh or 3 lakh, 4 lakh rupees per month. And here you see 7 to 10,000 if that is the salary of the educators over there in the private school. So that is exploitation first of all of the educators. And यहाँ पे कार्ल मार्क्स के सरप्लस वैल्यू को आप इनके ऊपर अप्लाई करना चाहिए, बिग इंडस्ट्रियल ओनर्स पे नहीं, जिसमें हैव एंड हैव नॉट्स है, इनके ऊपर अप्लाई करके नया पैराडाइम में सोशलिज्म का यानी हमें डिस्कोर्स लाना चाहिए। On the other hand, you will find if the government schools and colleges, especially primary education and higher education system, is collapsing, it means that denial of opportunities to millions of children in our country. That is why this system should not collapse. People in the higher education, it is their responsibility, for all of us in our areas, meeting the authorities, ensuring that the teacher is coming to that school. Even a few students are there. Infrastructure बहुत ही खराब होता है. आप देखेंगे जो गवर्नमेंट प्राइमरी स्कूल है वहाँ पे टॉयलेट तक नहीं है, बच्चियों को इसलिए लोग नहीं भेज रहे. सिक्योरिटी नहीं है, दीवारें टूटने का डर है, टपक रहे, यानी बरसात में छत टपक रही है, बैठने के लिए जमीन में चटाई पे या बोरे में बैठ रहे हैं, टेबल कुर्सी भी नहीं है. तो एटलीस्ट एक डिग्निफाइड स्पेस तो होना चाहिए ना. बच्चे गरीब है तो उसका मतलब ये थोड़ी कि उनकी कोई डिग्निटी नहीं है. तो जो डिग्निफाइड स्पेस है दैट मस्ट बी इंश्योर्ड बिकॉज दिस इज एन एसेंशियल रिक्वायरमेंट. फंड्स आर गिवन बिकॉज ऑफ करप्शन ओनली, so fighting against the corruption, making them accountable, that is our responsibility that we can do. वो गरीब माँ जो है या गरीब बाप कोई मजदूर नहीं पूछ पाएगा उनसे कि क्यों नहीं है ऐसा. हम तो पूछ सकते हैं ना. And that is this is our responsibility in that sense.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, anybody else?
Sir, this is Mohammad Ahmed. Being a student of law, sir, अगर हम देखते हैं कि हमें कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन की जरूरत क्यों थी, तो जो सिंगल एजेंडा इज ब्रेक फ्रॉम द पास्ट. साहब कॉलोनियल पीरियड के बाद जो ब्रेक था इसलिए हमें कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन चाहिए. लेकिन सर अगर हम रीसेंट ट्रेंड की बात करते हैं या रीसेंट सेटअप की बात करते हैं जिसको हम डेमोक्रेटिक सेटअप कहते हैं, उसमें सर अब कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनलिज्म की जरूरत है. आदमी कहता है कि साहब स्पिरिट ऑफ कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन की जरूरत है. मैं कहता हूँ कि साहब स्पिरिट ऑफ कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनलिज्म की जरूरत है. सर कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन तो हम सर पिछले 70 साल से निभाते हुए आ रहे हैं, लेकिन जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनलिज्म है सर एक नई डॉक्ट्रिन भी कह सकते हैं. अगर आप मेरा सर जो मेरी लिटिल नॉलेज है मैं वो आपके सामने रखना चाहता हूँ कि साहब अगर हम, क्योंकि सर इनेक्टिंग अ लॉ इज नॉट अ सोल्यूशन टू द प्रॉब्लम. कानून तो सर हमने बहुत बना लिए. हम कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनलिज्म की, कुछ लोग उसे लिमिटेड गवर्नमेंट का भी फॉर्मूला कहते हैं, लेकिन सर अगर हम ये स्पिरिट लिए हैं कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनलिज्म की, जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल एक्सपर्ट भी बहुत सारे कहते हैं कि साहब अगर हम वेलफेयर स्टेट का जो ख्वाब है जो देखना चाहते हैं, तो अगर हम कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनलिज्म की तरफ बढ़ जाएं तो दैट विल बी अ मोर इफेक्टिव वे टू अचीव द गोल ऑफ वेलफेयर स्टेट. सर
हाँ, मैं आपसे पार्टली एग्री करता हूँ दो चीजों पे. This is often said that it is a break from the past, so that is why we have taken this constitution. But the recent past and our ancient past, our medieval past, and there are, the past cannot be say only the recent past, that is the imperial past, where we were being exploited. This you will find this constitution is not only trying to break away from the past, but it is also trying to preserve our values that have been there, right from ancient times. And you will find many judicial pronouncements are like that. For example, if the certain languages are promoted, certain values are being promoted in the country. So you'll find it is not only breaking away from the past or going away from the past, rather, past is not something that should be criminalized. Past is not something that, because it was again the imperialist narrative that Indian past was not glorious. And that is why they try to criminalize our past. They try to condemn our past. So this is the reason that it is the responsibility of all of us to understand that our past is not something that we should be ashamed of. There are many bad things as well that is there in all the civilizations. All good things are not there. But it doesn't mean that we should accept the imperial discourse that our past was something that should be condemned, that should be criminalized, that should be, considered as bad. Number two, you see that these lofty words that the judges are using while giving judgments, constitutionalism, constitutional morality, constitutional values, spirit of the constitution, you'll find that a lot of contradiction itself is found in the judgment. On the one hand, they talk of constitutionalism. At the same time, the constitutional provisions are twisted in such a manner, laws are twisted in such a manner through various judgments that it creates a lot of problem for the executive itself also in the country. So therefore, you will find unless in the judgments as well as the people, those who are at the helm of who are sitting at the helm of affairs, the very social composition, the very social challenges of all the people, not few, those who are more vocal, those who are in the gaze of the media, those who are away from the gaze of media, they are not finding any kind of, reference at all. So ultimately, if that is not taken care of, I think the critical evaluation of the judgments, the critical evaluation of the assertion, and the critical thinking that we were emphasizing, scientific and critical reasoning, that must be there, and that should be there to our way of teaching, and to at the same time to the judgment that the people are pronouncing by sitting in the highest court of appeal in the country. So that you can find, I think you can understand what I am trying to indicate and what I am trying to point out. Thank you.
Sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for your words.
Next, yes, somebody is raising a hand and only D is written, so I cannot recognize, I cannot call your name. Anybody?
Hello, sir. Sir, my name is
Yes.
Divakar Singh. I'm assistant professor of English in Sanjay Gandhi PG College, Chowkia, Sultanpur. Sir, my question is, sir, in the meaning of India, Raja Rao writes, I am quoting his words, the Muslim traveler Idrisi in his Al-Rajari writes, the Indians are naturally inclined to justice and never depart from it in their functions. Their good faith, honesty and fidelity to their engagements are well known. And they are so famous for these qualities that people flock to their country from every side by side, and because of it rose the splendor that is India. Sir, इसके बावजूद सर कैसे हम लोग डिग्रेड हो गए उस लेवल से? Sir, what was the possible reason? Although you have given the reason, criminalizing our past, but sir, kindly explain it, sir.
You see, there are many things. A traveler is trying to come and trying to understand our society. He can appreciate many things, but you cannot ignore this fact that while justice and other things were very much there, morality and other things, but at the same time, there are many things that we have to, critical reasoning yahi hoti hai, scientific temper yahi hoti hai, in the past, what has happened? That there was a segment of our own population that was being discriminated as untouchable. There was a segment of our population, that women who faced many kind of, atrocities at that time as well. There are many good things also. Sabha and Samiti, if you will find in the Vedic period, that were there where the women were allowed to participate, but also the degeneration that has taken place in the ancient times as well. So that's why, any civilization of the world cannot claim monopoly of goodness either in their past or in their present. So that is why, this has been the mixed things have been there. That what scientific and critical reasoning will tell you. But of course, the degeneration, if you see in our country, it has been there for many reasons, many factors have been there. And one of the factors that right from the very beginning, जिसको Aristotle ने अपने ज़माने में कहा था, inequality of status and opportunity. So that is why you will find different kind of ethics and morality were there for the different kind of people. It all depends upon with whom you are going to interact, what you are going to see, in what kind of spaces you are, in what kind of spaces you have gone, and what kind of spaces you have not visited. So that's why that these travelogues are very important source of information. But at the same time, we have to critically analyze in the light of the historical evidences of our own civilizational values, past and all.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes. Next, please. Last question I can take up, or observation, because it is not 10:30. I have to wind up at 10:30. So please come on. अगर आपको किसी को पूछना है, otherwise, thank you very much for your patient hearing. If there is no question, no observation, looking forward to see you again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
you, sir.
If you have any,
Thank you, sir.
if you have
Thank you,
any
sir.
question, any observation
Thank you,
that
sir.
you did not get in the
Thank you,
HRD,
sir.
he has
Thank
my
you so much.
phone number
Thank
and
you,
my
sir.
email
Thank you
ID
so
that
much,
he can
sir.
find. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.